Welcome back to another video, folks. I've got a set of 3 objectives to share with you today. These ones you might be able to guess from how they look, hopefully you can, are themed on the bocage. Now there are 3 separate objectives, but they can be placed loosely together to help form a scene of the tanks breaking through a crossroads. Now you can see I've put the lettering on the side, this bocage 44, and what we'll do is we'll have a look at each of the objectives individually. So this one is a knocked out Sherman with the crew bailing out. There's a couple of shell strikes on the front glasses there. And you can see I've tried to depict it, if you look at it from that, that's a bit dark, but from that point of view the turret is just peeking over the hedges. So it's got that feel of the very restricted bocage roads, the sunken roads. So you can see the crew bailing out. This is some old bailed out tank crew that I had. I'll try and catch the light. I've had these lying around for ages, so I was glad to be able to put them to some use. This guy here, I have cut his legs down, so he's coming out of the turret. This guy's running across the engine deck. He's hit the deck and looking to see what his next move's going to be. The clump foliage that you can see is it's been stiffened with glue, so it's quite tough. It doesn't depress when it's touched, see, it doesn't soften. And that'll add a bit of durability to what's potentially a fairly delicate piece. So the next one is basically crushing a Pack 40. See if I can get, and there you go, you can see a bit more there, like there's wheels and the gun being struck off the carriage, knocked up onto the hedge bank, and the trails underneath. This is a Pack 40 I've had lying around for ages because it didn't have a gun shield, so I have found a use for it. And I've also sculpted an arm and pistol on the tank commander. It's kind of inspired by the Flames of War image of the Sherman busting through the hedge and crushing the Pack 40. It's not an exact match for it or replica because it wouldn't fit in with the theme of the objectives, because this is all stuff down on a road, but it still looks quite effective. So there you go, that's the, oops, daisy. Just put this guy back in his place. And the hedgerow cutters there, I scratched up with some very thin plasticard. Didn't have any of the metal ones to hand. Now this guy is kind of the pièce de résistance of this little scene. This guy's equipped with the hedgerow cutters and he's actually bursting through a hedge bank. You can see here there's earth falling away beneath the tracks, there's roots sticking out from underneath the earth that has been picked up along with the hedge. And you can see there's even a bit of a tree stump in there. Try and catch the light, guys. It's very, very low down, as you can see. So there you go. So it's quite dramatic. I've got quite a lot of earth down on the road because there's no way of getting the tracks to sag and look as though they're pushing up an incline. as you would expect, because they're just one-piece plastic tracks. So a bit of earth that spilled down from the collapsing bank helps, just to get rid of any very obvious gaps that there would be if you didn't fill that space in. That's probably the most, probably the most interesting piece of the three. And then if you put them all together, as I said, quite loosely. Oh, there we go. And then you get this bocage scene. If you get down to road level, so to speak. And get a feel for the closeness of the terrain. Very nice set of objectives. Now, one thing I should say is these Shermans have got, other than the pigments that were applied by wash, there is no wash being used in the painting of them. It's all been airbrush modulation, and that's been strengthened and toned back where required using a brush, just by doing some blending. And the shade colour, olive drab as it was, the base coat colour has been left in for all the recesses. So there's not been any washes used, but you can see there's still a great deal of shape definition and shade and highlight. So it's a technique that I'm developing and using on various single colour tanks. And there's also some green stuff being used for these satchels and bed rolls and so on. You can see in the turrets and the engine deck. But there you go, there's the American contribution, and I've just dropped the camera, excuse me. That's the American contribution. And now this is something that I've done for the Germans. I had the spare Panther kicking about. It had been painted in, well, it had been given the insignia for the 12th SS Hitler Youth. So I thought I'm going to make a objective specifically for that. So you can see what I've got on the front is the Hitler Youth regimental badge and what is a representation of the armband that they would wear on the uniforms. Hopefully it's coming across okay, but basically saying the Hitler Jugend. And I've got it on a slope, so give a nice dramatic picture. And you can see I've got Normandy 44 on the side, just so we can place it. And around the base I've painted a sort of a band of some P-dot camo. Looks a bit weird because it's not on a uniform and the whole thing isn't P-dot, but I wasn't going to paint the whole thing P-dot. That would take a long time and maybe wouldn't look quite as good as just having the band going around and helping to frame the lettering and such like that's on the base. You can see I've got this Panther. I've painted it quite dusty. I've made it streaky and dusty. Dust on the side skirts, dust around the base of the turret. There's dust on flat surfaces on the front glasses plate there. And putting dust on like that gives a degree of depth and realism to the kit without actually having to do anything too complicated. It's just carefully airbrushed on. The streaks, I've used some enamel paint. And the little infantrymen, the little Panzer Grenadiers, been painted in a mixture of summer oak leaf and P-dot. But quite a dramatic little picture it creates. See if I can get some bit of light over here and get down to the same level. Oh, blocking the light off. And there you go, that's a nice German equivalent for Normandy to go up with the main set of 3, which is, whoops, I'm knocking them about, which is these bocage busting Shermans. So I hope you like that, guys, and that maybe gave you some idea of what can be done for objective markers. The bases themselves are not very big, but you can, with a bit of thought, using the sides of the bases even, you can bring a little story to life. I had a lot of fun painting them. As is always the case with these little projects, I kind of made it up as I went along. There are things I would have done in a different order to get a cleaner, tighter result, and you always learn as you go with these things. But I'm really quite happy with how they've turned out.